keep my phone on my...
Am I starting this one? Welcome to Let's Be Frank. This week we are talking about a better you and how to be a better you. So self-improvement, continuous learning and development, those kinds of topics.
Yeah, maybe you must give a little bit of context where a better you come from.
Oh gosh, more to be revealed at a later stage.
Pretty soon.
Yeah, very soon. But we have been working on something called a blueprint for our company, which we will go into more detail about, and we're really excited about it. And one of the concepts that came up through a voting process and through talking to our whole company was that we need to do more of continuous learning and improvement, which we decided to call a better you.
Yeah, a number of topics that we discussed in the last few weeks, I suppose, lead up to, well, what can I do to improve myself? And where should I focus? I think that people have very good idea of where there's room for improvement, and also know just by virtue of it's something that's so important to us, it's part of it for methodology once again, it's continuous improvement.
Yeah.
And also people naturally, I believe, want to improve. So it's about making, maybe just chatting a little bit about what can we do, what we expect of our teams to do and our people to do in terms of becoming a better you.
I think that's a good way of putting it, because we've been talking a lot about our teams and our team structure and how we work as a team, but you've mentioned a few times that teams are made up of individuals, and it's up to every individual to be the best version of themselves for the good of the team. So I think it's a really nice topic to talk about, is how do we improve ourselves as individuals, and maybe part of that is identifying our shortcomings, and sometimes you need some perspective to be able to do that, so being able to talk it through. I know I definitely am more aware of some of the areas I can improve once I've spoken to someone and gotten all of my things out there.
Because you don't know what you don't know.
Yes.
So in our organization, people will know that I have gone through the concept of the unconscious incompetence, and that's where you really don't know what I'm doing wrong. And being made aware of it, you then move into the conscious incompetence.
Yeah.
Well, I know I am doing this wrong, or is an area for improvement, but I don't quite know how yet.
Yeah.
And then from there, through a little bit of effort, dedication, you can get to the point where you are consciously competent.
Yeah.
Then we discussed it in the previous podcast about, small increments of improvement. You will then shift from consciously competent to unconsciously competent.
I always think a really nice example of that is driving. When you're learning to drive for the first time, it's so many things to remember, and I think that's the conscious competence, where you can do it, but you have to remember all of these things and you have to keep actively doing it, and then a few years later and you forget how you got home because it was just so unconscious that you know what to do and how to do it.
Yeah, and then like me this morning, you get stuck behind a learner driver and you think to yourself, come on, it's not that difficult.
And you forget you were ever the person in
Correct.
that car with the big loser sign on the back.
Yeah. So that is a very good example of how we, and pretty quickly, move into that unconscious competence level.
Yeah.
But it is something that, there's always something else.
Yes, yeah, you're never going to be complete in that cycle. There's always going to be a new thing to go through.
One of the things that I think we as humans, we're not necessarily always receptive to being made aware of our shortcomings.
Well, you sent me a great picture the other day that everyone appreciates honesty until you're honest about them, and then you're an asshole.
Then they're an asshole.
Then they're an asshole. Yeah.
Correct. So we try to make people aware of certain shortcomings, and hopefully guide them in terms of where and how they can improve.
Yeah.
But it's so important for us as individuals, outside of work, because work is only a part of your life.
Yeah.
It's only about 33%, 35% of your life. And the rest of it, and who you are as a human, is outside of work. And there are so many opportunities to improve as well. So being open and maybe even actively seeking that feedback.
Yeah. Well, this again, I mean, this follows on from our previous podcast about overcoming fear of failure 2 podcasts ago. And there was a blog post that came, an email that came through that said, "You made a mistake, thank you." I think it was James Altucher again. And it's allowing people to make mistakes and appreciating that they're making a mistake, because it's an opportunity to grow and to learn as an individual. So if you know where you're making mistakes, you can actually make an effort to improve and to get better.
But you must want to improve.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where it starts.
Yeah.
You must want to improve, and you must be open, and you must go and seek out feedback from colleagues, friends, etc.
Yeah.
And then put a plan in place and start moving towards that conscious competence and the conscious competence, and that'll allow us to form the habit, and then it comes natural to us.
So, I mean, this podcast is a great example of where I'm trying to improve my self-confidence. And we ask our colleagues, the rest of our team, to feedback. And sometimes it is very difficult to hear some of that feedback, and it does make you go, I find it tough. I'm asking people to feedback, but there might be a negative comment, and you kind of think, oh my goodness, I didn't realize I was like that, or I did things like that. But it gives you a chance to say, okay, wow, that is a stumbling block for me. How can I get better? So...
Yeah, if I think back when we first discussed about starting this podcast, I mean, that was one of the things where we said it'll be an opportunity for both of us to overcome certain of our fears.
Yeah.
Because it's not natural, and it does feel very awkward in the beginning. But I think we did it with the right mindset of we're not here to become famous YouTube stars. We're here to impart knowledge, mainly to our team, and therefore we've been open to suggestions.
Yeah.
And actually, I wish we would get more suggestions and feedback from the team.
Well, I'm very appreciative of the feedback I've received so far, and not all of it has been positive, of course. Some people have pointed out some of the areas where we can improve, and it's great because we can actually actively then do something to be better, and that's great. It's such a nice opportunity.
It is. And I hope other people, the rest of our team, will take this to heart, and go and look and ask around, get some feedback.
Yeah.
We don't have that many formal reviews, because personally I don't believe those formal reviews are that valuable.
Yeah.
And I think because it's always in a setting of a boss giving a review, that it is a negative, perceived as a negative experience.
Yeah.
And I don't think that people are that receptive to the feedback that they're getting.
Yeah.
So it's about being aware of where you are, being
conscious,
but also about being honest with yourself.
Yeah.
In terms of, well, I can get away with that particular habit or the skill that I lack here. There's enough room to maneuver, so I don't really have to put in any effort. But I think we all know where those areas for improvement are. Yeah. And I recently had the opportunity to participate in an exercise where I had to send a questionnaire out to several people to get some feedback. about what my strengths are, what my weaknesses are, what my blind spots are. And that was extremely valuable. It all happened anonymously, so I didn't know who said what. And I suppose that helped for people to be honest and give me that feedback. But I've got wonderful feedback from that. And you do look at what people see as your qualities, and yes, I'm great. But then you focus on what are my blind spots, what are my weaknesses, how do other people perceive me, and then you start and you pick one or two of those and you work on them. And as I said, that was a great experience for me. You expose yourself, you make yourself very vulnerable to do that. But the feedback, certainly in terms of what I see and the way that I perceive it, has been brutally honest. And I took a lot of value from that.
Well, I think it was also a Tom Bilyeu talk that I watched, a video that I watched, where he said negative feedback is actually the most important to him, because it's the only way that he can improve. If people are just telling you you're great all the time and all the things you're good at, that's cool. I'll keep doing those things, but what must I do differently to be better?
How will you improve? Yeah.
And you only get that from people telling you where you're falling short, or from you being able to acknowledge where you're falling short.
Because inherently we also know that we're not perfect. None of us are.
Far from it.
So we know that there are areas in which we can improve. And it's so correct, somebody makes you aware of it. And there are many ways. I mean, we talked about overcoming the fear of conflict. I think it's about stating the intent up front. But more importantly, seeking that feedback. Making
being
sure
open
that people,
to it.
making sure that people understand why you're asking these questions. There's a lot of value. So
how are we doing it here at FiveFriday? How are we helping to facilitate this process here at FiveFriday?
Well, obviously it's part of our FitFo methodology, where it's encouraged. We talk about it a lot, or I talk about it a lot, about continuous self-improvement. And through this exercise that I'm going through at the moment, with having one-on-ones with our development team, I've learned quite a lot in terms of how eager people are to improve and establish a goal for themselves. And like anything else, it's about the execution. Once I realize, or I'm made aware of a particular blind spot or an area for improvement, it's up to me as the individual to then go back and put a plan in place.
And that seek help if you need it.
Absolutely, I was just going to say that it's not about I call you on your own now, but seek help, but you must own it. Somebody else can't own it for you. That's like, I don't know, signing up for a martial arts class and never pitching, and then blaming the teacher for the fact that you're not a black belt. So that individual ownership is extremely important.
So I think we can see already that all of our team are taking steps to become a better you, a better them. I'm certainly working on a few of my own shortcomings at the moment, and I have a long way to go. And I think the other thing that comes into it is having someone hold you accountable to your commitments. So we really try to facilitate that here. I know with me personally, you check up on me quite often with how I am in my personal development, because it matters to the team. Like we say, the individuals are part of the team, and so they need to be the best version of themselves to make FiveFriday the best.
Better individuals will make better teams.
So this was our podcast on Let's Be Frank About a Better You, and we will see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.